Let's start a podcast about our mental health for no good reason why. Let's call it Mind Cake.
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to another slice of Mind Cake
Mind Cake
with him,
Lee Crompton, and him.
Paul Beeson.
Yes, 2 weeks in a row, Mush.
I know, it's almost like I've missed it.
I think you have secretly missed it.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing better now than I was on Saturday morning.
So, for those of you who maybe don't follow us religiously on our social media,
How dare you?
Yes, well, first of all, get that sorted out. We'll come to that in the housekeeping in a little while. But myself and Mr. Lee Crompton,
Hello.
painted the town reddish on
Burgundy.
Friday night. Yeah. We had a production meeting in Ashton Lane in Glasgow on Friday evening, didn't we, Mush?
Well, yeah, it was loosely disguised as a production meeting. I mean, to be fair, we did discuss, I would suggest 80% of the evening, if not more, was discussing Mind Cake. However,
it was, yeah.
We were both slightly merry by the time we left, and I'm struggling to remember most of it.
Yeah, it's probably the worst production meeting we've ever had because none of us can remember what we talked about.
No,
because
there was probably some really good ideas.
Yeah, we had too many strong lagers and IPAs and such.
We're not endorsed by Innocent Gun, and neither should we be because alcohol is bad. I did it cross my mind. Do Innocent Gun do an alcohol-free version? They must do.
They do. They were selling it in the boozer we were in.
No, we just didn't have any.
Yeah. They had a whole fridge full of alcohol-free cans behind the bar.
Well, if the episode is to be sponsored by anybody, I think this episode should be sponsored by alcohol-free Innocent Gun.
Learn from our mistakes, kids. Don't get stupidly drunk.
Anyway, should we talk about that later? Because we've got a few points that came out of that I do remember. Not necessarily about content, but just funny things that happened.
Yes. We're going to dive into our episode this week. We're joined by the lovely Karese from the Myospot. So here we go. Yeah, enjoy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlefolk. Today we are joined by Karese Laguerre, who is a myofunctional therapist. Is that correct?
That was perfect. Spot on.
Okay, so I think we should start by asking, for those of us who struggle to ever even pronounce myofunctional, what exactly it is and why should we care about it?
I love that question. I never get it. And so this is a perfect time for me to answer this for the very first time.
Excellent.
Myofunctional therapy is kind of like, my best analogy is to compare it to a personal trainer. If you were to go to the gym and you work out with a fitness expert, and they work out on your muscles to help you strengthen and enhance them. Well, I strengthen and enhance muscles that are below the eyes but above the shoulders. So I work in this wonderful region here to help people who are struggling with breathing, sleep, tongue posture, digestion, a number of things.
Wow. What would be some of the everyday signs that someone might benefit from myofunctional therapy?
So some of the big ones, because there's a lot of different signs, but some of the big ones are that you're going to be struggling with some level of oral facial pain, perhaps the temporomandibular joint or the jaw joint. You might have pain or dysfunction there. You might have a tongue thrust, a narrow, really small jaws for the teeth. You may have morning headaches. You may clench, you may grind your teeth. You may have difficulty when you're trying to chew harder things. There's like a myriad of things that I could list. You might have anxiety. You could be in poor vagal tone where you have high sympathetic drive. You could have digestive issues. There's a number of things, but those were the big guns.
Okay. Okay. So a couple of things there. So would you necessarily know? So if I didn't have any jaw pain or trouble swallowing, does that mean that I don't have any issues, or could I still improve those issues? And just before I forget, Erin, who you haven't met, I'm surprised you haven't met her. My 4-year-old daughter, who's on most podcasts, would you say, Paul?
Oh, yeah, she's on a high number of
She is.
podcasts for sure. Yeah.
She normally wanders in. She did say tonight, she goes, "Is Paul going to be on?" And I said no. I had to lie and say you weren't going to be on because otherwise she wants to sit on my lap and say hello. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Karese, what I was going to say was that a lot of the time, Erin will come into bed with us and she grinds her teeth, something chronic, in the middle of the night when it's silently still. The sound of her grinding her teeth, and I don't know anybody else who grinds their teeth. So, sorry, that was a two-part question. So, I guess what was the first half? The
If you
first
don't have
time is
the jaw pain, you don't have the facial
yeah,
pain,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you know otherwise, yeah, you might know in the sleep. Now, with children, we shouldn't hear them grinding their teeth like that. Some pediatric dentists will tell you that that's normal. And I think to a certain extent, when we are growing, it is a function of the jaw to engage. That way it can help to stimulate the teeth to come through the arches. However, at 4, she's not in active, mixed dentition or mixed teeth where her primary and her permanent teeth are kind of all at the same time. She's in full permanent dentition for at least another year or 2, so she shouldn't be grinding her teeth like that. Most studies are showing that when grinding is happening nocturnally, that what's occurring is actually the grinding after a period of apnea. So an apnea, when you're sleeping, if anybody has heard of obstructive sleep apnea, an apnea is when you stop breathing. So the airway closes for whatever reason, and it stops for about 10 seconds. It has to be 10 seconds to be considered an apnea. We don't want it to be, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. But for some reason, 10 is the only time they count it for like medical purposes.
Okay.
So after that apnea, then the grinding starts. And so it always starts after an apnea and never in central sleep apnea. So central sleep apnea is when your brain just forgets for whatever reason, neurologically, tells your body to stop breathing for a second, and then it picks back up and it's like, oh yeah, we were supposed to do that thing. We don't have grinding that occurs during that. It's only when the airway is closed via an obstruction, mostly in the nose or in the throat. And when that's occurring, then we find the grinding. So it's the body just shifting that lower jaw forward to bring more air down and to move the muscles forward.
This is all very interesting because we have real problems with her sleep. So when she's asleep, she's asleep. Sorry, I'm making this a whole personal mission. So it's all about me tonight, as per usual. So getting her to sleep is an absolute pain. When she's actually asleep, she generally sleeps through, but she's real problems. So maybe sleep apnea is a thing. Now, you see, the problem is now I'm gonna have to stay awake and just watch her to see whether before she grinds her teeth, I get with my stopwatch with my 10 seconds to see whether she has stopped breathing.
I'll tell you as a parent, that's going to be the scariest and the longest 10 seconds of your life.
It's going to be a long 10 seconds. Yeah. Now, looking at Paul's face, you can see Paul's face there. Now, as far as I'm aware, Paul hasn't got any jaw pain or... Do you snore, Paul?
Not really. I do if I've been drinking.
Right. I don't think... Oh, she's nodding. I was going to say, I think that's a whole different conversation. But yes, Karese is nodding.
It's a different conversation. Alcohol does have a different way of kind of getting us into more of not a sleep, but a sedation.
So is there any way we can test whether Paul's face needs some muscular intervention?
Sure. Here's what we could do. So everybody is...
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Most people are unaware that there is a place for our tongue to be at rest. And so let's see where your tongue posture is, Paul. Okay. And Lee, you could do this with us too.
Okay.
I want you to put your feet flat on the floor, sit up as straight as you can. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose and then exhale back out through your nose. Very good. Inhale through the nose again, back out through the nose. And I want you to repeat that inhale and exhale 4 more times for me. While you're doing so, I just want you to be very introspective, highly aware what's going on in the mouth. Where's your tongue and its position in the mouth? And where are your teeth? Are they together? Are they slightly apart? And then we'll talk about it once you've gotten some of that awareness. see both of you are really taking your time to process it. I
Mm.
appreciate that.
So I think I nodded off there for a moment.
Okay.
Mhm.
At
Okay.
rest, our
Yeah.
tongue should be lightly suctioned and engaged against the roof of the mouth, the palate. So the entirety of the palate, the tongue should be suctioned up and engaged against. Now your tongue should not be touching your teeth. It should actually be all enclosed against that palate. And your teeth should be just slightly apart, nearly hovering over each other. They shouldn't be together, and your tongue shouldn't be low in any way. Were either of you in your proper posture?
No.
I absolutely was.
Oh, of course you were. Of course you were, Paul. What a sook.
No, I did. Yeah, I could. Everything you just described is exactly how my mouth was there when I was breathing through my nose. I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that either. It was absolutely true.
I love it. Paul's perfect. Paul doesn't need
Yeah. No, we have
Perfect,
this
Paul.
most weeks that perfect prefect Paul, top of the class. I would suggest that everything that you said I should be doing, I was doing the opposite. So my teeth, my front teeth weren't clenched together, but my top teeth were over the front of my bottom teeth. My tongue was at the bottom of my mouth.
Yeah, we want the tongue up at the roof of the mouth in light suction. It's one to support. It's like a scaffold, so it helps to support that upper arch. But two, it's going to stimulate the nasal floor and help optimize your nasal breathing because it's supporting that nasal cavity. The roof of the mouth is the same bone that's the floor of the nose. So they stimulate each other. But then three, to help your autonomic nervous system regulation. So that's that fight or flight, rest or digest system. The tongue actually stimulates when it's up against the palate there, the ability for us to self-regulate. And so we want that tongue to be in that posture at all times.
See, I am listening to you, Karese. I swear I'm listening to you, but half of my brain is still watching where my tongue is in my head. Like, is that up under my teeth? Yeah. It's like learning to drive all over again. Press the clutch. Well, have you got a clutch in your car, Karese? Can you drive?
I can drive, but I can't drive a manual. I can only
Yeah.
drive.
I was going to say you wouldn't know what a clutch is.
I mean, I know of it. I just can't use it.
Do you know what a choke is?
No.
No.
You're showing your age now, Lee, with a choke on a car.
My first Fiesta had a choke. Whole different episode. Anywho, okay, so myofunctional therapy can help with sleep apnea, snoring, and focus. How do we go from tongue exercises to better mental health?
Ooh, well, part of it is that tongue at rest posture and autonomic nervous system. That's 100% a direct connection to your neurological system. Then there's the aspect of it that deals with us in sleep. So when we are in sleep, we are subconscious. We're completely unaware of anything that's going on around us. We're out of control of it. Our brain takes over, and the brain actually has more activity when you're sleeping than it does during the daytime. At any point in the day, it actually ramps itself up. Sleep is the only time when our brain is able to detox as well. So all of the toxins kind of cross over that blood-brain barrier and it flushes itself out. Very important because in order for our brain to function well the following day, we have to have all of that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our bodies are very organized systems. We understand that we need to breathe. That is primary. There is nothing else that trumps that. We can go for weeks without food, days without water, but not any of us can live for more than a few minutes without oxygen. So we need to breathe. So if at night you're lying down and your tongue is obstructing your airway, or the soft palate and the throat muscles are closing your airway, and you're unable to adequately breathe, and you're having repeated episodes where there's difficulty breathing and you're not getting as much oxygen, now the brain has to reprioritize. Now it goes from, okay, we've got to clean ourselves out, we've got to implant memories, we've got to make sure we're resting and we're getting cell rejuvenation. We have to put all that aside because our human is dying. And we have to keep them alive, and we need to help them breathe. So all of the body's resources then go to just trying to keep you breathing. the heart starts beating faster, more cardiac events happen at night for people who struggle with breathing. That's when the highest numbers of strokes in the middle of the night happen and occur because of the inability to breathe. So our body is redirecting all the resources there, which now means that your brain function the following day is not going to be what it could have possibly been had you got a full night of restorative sleep. So sleep and the tongue posture, incredibly important. The tongue during the day is really driving our systems with that autonomic nervous system. And at night, we want it up and out of the airway because it's going to help facilitate more space so that even if the throat muscles aren't quite where they need to be and they do narrow out a little, the first stages of sleep is always muscle relaxation. And then you put us all on our back. So you lie us down, there's the gravity and the force of gravity. So even if the upper respiratory tract and that throat does narrow out a bit, having that tongue up and out of the airway helps to facilitate more oxygen flowing through so that the brain can do all the restorative processes it needs. And you can be more productive the next day, more focused, more energized, more able to concentrate.
That's why Paul's such a clever clogs. Because he's having such restorative sleep because he's breathing perfectly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
That's so interesting.
That is
isn't it?
interesting. And as you were talking, I'm thinking up questions that I haven't even written down. So, Paul, here's the question for you. Because you know you breathe perfectly, OVS.
Well, yeah.
Do you sleep on your front or your back or your side? And Karese, does that make any difference with the whole process?
It can, but let's see, Paul, how do you sleep?
I tend to be on my side. I start off on my side, but so it depends. I might move through the night, but I find if I lie just flat on my back and try to sleep, I'm not I don't feel 100% comfortable, and certainly not on my front. So I'm always on usually my left side.
Don't tell me, Karese, that's the perfect place.
I was just going to say that Paul's a perfect sleeper. Left side. We like our side sleepers. The side sleeping is actually ideal. Sleeping on the back, or it's going to cause more problems. Those are the people who have the most issues and instances of those apneas, those events where their body stops breathing.
Well, again, Erin, I think, sleeps on her back. She's normally like this with her hands behind her head, like she's on some sort of recliner. I
on a sunbed.
On a sunbed, yeah. Grinding her teeth. And I would say I generally now, to get to sleep, it never used to be a thing, but I've said in the last couple of years, I sleep on my front. So another red mark for me. So 2-0 to Paul. Wow, who'd have thought it?
It's okay. It's not over yet.
Yeah.
Does it affect your hair growth?
I don't think so. I haven't found any research to link that yet.
No, I just wondered. That would be one of the reasons that, I was more follically channeled.
You can't stop looking for excuses about your hair growth.
Yeah. So I suppose we should ask the question, what made you dive into the world? Because I'd never heard of this before. So how did you get into the world of myofunctional therapy?
So it actually happened by way of my children.
Oh, okay.
And I think that as parents, our lives are changed in some way, shape, or form by our children. And one of the ways my children shaped mine was my career trajectory. So I have 4 children, and I like to say that as parents, we always give the highlight reel whenever someone asks what's going on with our children. This one's doing great, grades are good, this one's in dance, and yada, yada. We give all the wonderful stuff. But as a mom of 4, I had a lot going on in my household that I wasn't talking about, that I wasn't sharing. Things that, as I list them, you may find them to be relatively common. So my son is my oldest, and he's the only boy. And so he had a lot of emotional and social regulatory issues where he was very impulse driven and very inattentive. I remember in kindergarten, his teacher said that, he would not be paying attention at all throughout the day. It was difficult to get him to redirect and pay attention in circle time. And I'm like, but he's 5, he doesn't want to be in circle time. It's okay. And then we go on and on. And, this went on for a while until he was roughly 10. And I had to stop saying, oh, but he is insert age here. And we'll pause there for a second so I can talk about my daughters and we'll get back to his story in a little. But my oldest daughter had every sleep issue under the sun. You talk about your daughter and her grinding. My daughter had grinding, snoring. She was a sleepwalker. She used to bedwet every single night. It didn't matter what we did. 4 hours before bed, we were like, you can't drink anything. Still guaranteed every single night. Some combination of things that would make the nights just absolutely horrendous for us. My youngest two daughters had a lot of upper respiratory things. So we were chronically at the pediatrician's office. There were congestion, throat infection, ear infection, congestion, throat infection, ear infection. It was always one of the trifecta, like something's going on there. And they would hand us some antibiotics. And this went on for years. As a dental professional, so I'm a dental hygienist, I was working for a pediatric dentist that happened to put all the pieces of the puzzle together for me. And that even though a lot of what I was going through with each of my children were genetically similar and grew up with the same set of circumstances, the same diets and so forth, it all manifested differently in them. So how they were using all these facial muscles, how they were breathing, how they were sleeping, it was all impacting them in different ways. And so once I fell deep into that hole, I was like 100%. I see what's going on here. I have to help my children. And I was able to help my children. I'll touch back on my son. Right when he went to the pediatric neurologist, because we saw the top pediatric neurologist I could see in my state. We went and she did the little checklist and does he do this? Does he do that? Does he do that? 15 minutes in and out. Yes, ADHD, hands us a prescription. We saw her every 6 months, and for a year and a half, we did 3 different types of prescriptions. None of them really helped him to be any more attentive than he was without the prescription. In my journey, when all these things start to collide and I'm learning more about how he should be using these muscles, about how mouth breathing is bad and I should be paying attention to his sleep, I go back to the office and she's ready to give us a 4th prescription now for a new drug. And I say, no, I don't want that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to look at his sleep. And immediately she jumps back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You never told me he had issues with his sleep, because there is a connection and a correlation where if the sleep is problematic, it could look like or mimic ADHD.
Right.
Turns out that's what it was for him. But I was never asked about his sleep. I was never told, not once, to look at his sleep.
Wow.
And so I think it's very important that a lot more people have those conversations, that when the children aren't getting adequate sleep, more often than not, because there's a 70% overlap of symptoms, they could be misdiagnosed with ADHD when it's really sleep that you have to take a look at.
Got you.
A long way of getting to how I got to where I am, but yeah.
Wow.
Wowee.
Yeah, I don't know where to start with that, really, because that's just, like you say, it impacts on so many aspects of life. And I'm trying to apply that to my own kids, whereby, a lot of what you said resonates with me and particularly with Erin. Yeah. Wow. What a journey. Are there any ridiculous exercises we could get Paul to do? So you've gone down the route, you've found out that you need to do certain exercises to help with the airways, breathing or whatever. What are those exercises?
When it comes to sleep and improving sleep, a lot of sleep is just about the back of the throat, the tongue, and it's really working those muscles because it's all soft tissue that supports our upper respiratory tract. So I've got a fun exercise, Paul, if you want to do it, that might be a little ridiculous. Lee, you can do it with us too.
No, it's fine. I just want to watch Paul do it. And the more ridiculous, the better, please.
Okay. Paul, what I would like you to do is you're going to open as wide as you can, and hopefully you'll be able to visualize your uvula. If you're unfamiliar with what your uvula is, that's the dangly ball in the back of the throat. Yes. So you're going to open wide so you can visualize your uvula. Then I want you to say, we're going to do 2 sounds. We're going to chant 2 sounds. Ga.
Ga.
and keep going in repetition.
Anga. Anga.
There you go.
Anga.
What we're seeing happen is
Anga.
that his is lifting his uvula, and so
Yeah.
that's engaging the soft palate muscle and engaging some of the throat. And that ga is lifting the back of the tongue, so we're engaging the back of the tongue. So those who struggle, which is not Paul's problem, he's got perfect tongue
Obviously.
posture.
Yeah.
Ah.
Those who struggle with keeping a nice open airway, who open their mouth and they can't visualize their uvula, they need to engage that musculature. Those who struggle with keeping their tongue up in posture would need to work the back of the tongue to help ensure they can get that tongue to stay up there in proper posture. So that's a good way to work two at the same time, but it looks a little ridiculous while you're doing it.
It does, yeah, and I enjoyed it. Look at his little face. He looks so pleased with himself. Look. That's well done, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Mm. So I had my entire thyroid removed. And with the second operation, so the first operation, they took out half my thyroid. And the second operation, they took out literally everything they could take out that wasn't keeping me alive. So there was a chance, which I think a lot of people would have quite liked, because then this podcast would have never happened, was I would have lost my voice.
Yeah.
And I did, and my voice did change, and I thought I had lost it. Not lost it, but it wouldn't be the same. So I think it's pretty much back to normal now. Well, that was 4 years ago. So I'm wondering, is there anything particular? I mean, I know I'm a, say special case, but for people who've maybe had surgery issues like that, is there something that I or they could be doing or to watch out for?
I think it's really important for people who have had surgeries. There are certain people who, for whatever reason, may have been intubated at a certain point in time. People who have had tubes through the nose, like feeding tubes, people who have had surgeries, parathyroid, thyroid, larynx, singers even. There's a lot of great purpose for myofunctional therapy and working these muscles, strengthening and engaging them. That way you're able to recover better, because we don't want as much scar tissue to occur. That scarring of the tissue that forms as a result is typically what is going to be impactful for you and how you're able to recover your speech. So I'm so happy for you. Hopefully there was very, very minimal scar tissue as your voice has gotten back to almost normal. But it really does help with rehabilitation of the function. So anytime we think of any surgeries are always going to deal with our structure. But then there's going to be a sequelae of events that happen as a result of this new structure now needing to adapt to new function and new functional patterns. So myofunctional therapy is absolutely wonderful if you're having a tough time recovering, if you're finding that your mobility or your range is not the same. If you were a singerly and you told me that, you used to be able to go up to a soprano and now you're just a very steady alto, well, then those are things that we could have intervened on along the path of your recovery if we got the myofunctional therapy in earlier.
Well, there we go. See, I am not a singer, but I'm going to say, on the basis that I was given 6 months to live, what I was really upset about was that when I think it was a U2 song, or it might have been a Coldplay song, and I was belting it out in the car, and there were certain notes that I couldn't hit. So I would normally, my singing range, I was like nowhere near my normal singing range. And I still don't think it's quite back to what it was, to the point where I was trying to explain this to my wife, Gemma, and I said, I've like kind of lost my singing. I can't sing. And she's like, don't be so silly. Of course you can sing. I went, I can't sing. So I said, when next time we're in the car, I put a song on and I got to the chorus and I belted it out. And do you ever what? Again, I think I've said this before. You're too young. Paul might remember Police Academy films.
Yeah.
There was the guy, I was going to say.
Exactly. Bobcat Goldthwait.
Is that the actor's name?
Yeah.
Karese has given us blank looks, but he used to do his voice is like, and Gemma said, "What on earth are you doing?" I'm like, she could stop putting it on. I'm not putting it on. That was I was singing like him, not Hightower. Hightower was the big guy. Can't think of his character's name, but yeah, I was like him out of Police Academy.
Are you still like that now?
No, but I still don't think I have the range, so I need to do my umlars again. Don't know what are they?
Ga.
Ga.
God.
Paul can give you some lessons now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do
Yeah.
it for a small fee.
Because he's perfect in every way.
Now, when it comes to sleeping, yes.
When it comes to sleeping, yeah, he's top of the class for sleeping, for snoozing. One of the things that led me to getting in contact with you in the first place, Karese, was we did an episode with Cam Cooney, who does meditation. And as with many of these podcasts, they go off at wild tangents. And at the end, if you remember Paul, he said, well, he's an Australian. I'm not going to try and do the accent. You need to try this mouth tape because, and he was saying it's a complete game changer for him, where obviously, I presume you've heard about this, where you just basically tape your mouth up and it forces you to breathe through your nose. Now, I haven't got a packet with me. I did buy a packet. I tried it once. It was hopeless because everyone just wanted, as soon as I put the tape on, everyone just wanted to have a chat with me, which isn't conducive to having your mouth taped up. Kids were coming in needing the toilet and blah, 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 blah. So it didn't really work. But I am going to give it another proper go. But we kind of, unscientifically, me and Paul thought, well, this sounds like a load of old bunkum, because the claims on the packet are, extends your life longevity and it helps with all sorts of things. I'm like, well, how is that? What's your view on mouth tape? Is what I'm asking.
Yes.
The short version of that
That's the
question.
short version of that question. Should I try it again, or should I just put them in the bin?
It depends. So I am not a big proponent for mouth tape. Here's why. I would love to know what the root cause is of why the mouth breathing is occurring. So if your mouth is open at night, there's likely a reason for it. Like I said earlier, our body's main objective, keep our human alive. And so I'm going to assume that those nasal passages are unable to, for whatever reason, facilitate a nice open patent airway, and that the mouth is now your emergency rescue system, ensuring you stay alive. Taping that might limit you. You'll find some people subconsciously, the body just takes off the tape, and then you'll wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't even remember taking it off, but it's off the bed somewhere and it's no longer where it was. If you are mouth taping, you don't know what's going on behind your nose. You have no idea if it's deviated septum, enlarged turbinates, swollen adenoids. You don't know what's going on that could be preventing you from nasal breathing. So I don't recommend blindly doing it. Now, if you visit a doctor who looks up there and they say, oh, everything's fine, you should be able to breathe, then one strip of mouth tape from the base of the nose, just north of the chin, should be sufficient. You still have the corners there available. And so if you need to breathe, your lips will part just ever so slight and you can still breathe through the tape.
Got you.
But what we're missing there with the mouth tape is the whole tongue posture. And so you solve with heavy quotes one problem, but you don't really address the rest. And so it's a mixed bag. There are some people who use it, swear by it, but I'm not one of those people.
Okay, so taking from that, then what you're saying is that naturally we should be breathing through our nose at nighttime, and the mouth is only, like you say, an emergency if we've got to block nasal passages.
Absolutely.
So I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah. So our tongue posture is at rest day and night. We want that tongue to be lightly suctioned up. You've never, and you never will, see anybody with their tongue suctioned all the way up to their mouth, all their palate, and their mouth open. Never happens, because it's a very difficult posture to maintain when
I'm
the
trying
jaw
it now. It is, yeah.
Yeah, when the jaw's open wider, it's difficult. So that's the main issue there, that, you can have the lips closed, but you need that tongue to be up and out of the airway, because everything starts to collapse just naturally with the weight of gravity, with the first stages of sleep, all muscles relax. So you lose a little bit of control over that. But what I like to, if I could give you a good visual, and let's imagine somebody who has a six-pack set of abs, and we're going to lie them down for sleep. And the first stages of sleep, as I said, are muscle relaxation. They lie down for sleep. Gravity is imposed on them. Do those 6-pack of abs go anywhere? No.
I wouldn't know.
We've all seen these muscle-bound people in some way, shape, or form, even if it's in a movie, lie down at some point, and those abs are
They're still
very
there.
prominently there. Yes. Let's take someone with more of a beer belly, and we're going to lie them down, and then gravity is going to impose, and we're going to have some muscle relaxation. Does that beer belly look as upright and round as we would anticipate? No, not nearly. Everything shifts and it looks different and things move. And so if we consider our airway a similar set of muscles and muscle groups, where if it's not very well strengthened and engaged, you're going to be more likely to have a more narrow space once everything is impacted by gravity and the muscle relaxation. Whereas if you're actively engaging this musculature, it's more likely to be able to maintain more of itself, just like the 6-pack maintains itself on top of the belly.
Well, this is where Paul leaps in because he's got a 6-pack as well.
Yeah. I wish. So, what was that? Go on.
No. I'm just saying I'm just in awe of you, Paul. You're just a perfect specimen.
Well, in this tiny little realm of life, perhaps.
In sleep.
In sleep, yeah, when nobody can see me doing anything. So talking about in those sort of terms, with sort of you talking about the muscles, how often should we be doing these exercises? For example, the Nga stuff. How often should we be doing that to try and better prepare ourselves for good sleep and good mental health?
That's a really good question. I like to say to add it and adapt it as a part of your pattern for the day. If you've got already really good musculature, so you've worked with a myofunctional therapist or you've done some sort of program, even if it was a self-study thing where you've done some exercises and you feel like you're getting better sleep and everything is maintaining itself, then one time a day, ideally before bed and in the midst of your nightly routine. However, if you're still working on it and you've got a ways to go, 2 to 3 times a day, sitting down, doing exercises for approximately 5 to 7 minutes, I think is a really good routine that'll lead you to better outcomes in, like a 6-month time frame.
It's not actually that much, is it? When you put it in terms of that's like 5 to 7 minute windows a day. It
doesn't seem like
doable.
that much. Yeah. But I know a lot of people are busy. Everybody's go, and I don't know. So for some people, it feels like a lot. But I think that for good sleep, when we spend a third of our life sleeping, I would absolutely carve out the time to do it.
Okay, so if people want to find out more, I think this is a fab opportunity for you to tell us about your book.
Yes.
And we're on the visual. For those on the visuals, could you tell us about your book and hold it up so we can see?
So I have a wonderful book available on Amazon. It's called Accomplished: How to Sleep Better, Eliminate Burnout, and Execute Goals. It is not really long because I am a cut to the chase type of person. I do not like when you drag things out for hundreds and hundreds of pages and I've got to dig through to find out what are the juicy bits. So I dove deep into just the juicy bits.
Nice.
So Accomplished has a wonderful explanation more on how breathing is really the root of our quality of sleep. And then it has a wonderful 4-step process, my CARE plan, CARE, it's an acronym. And that 4-step process really does dive into how you can naturally improve your sleep. That way you can eliminate burnout and execute goals. It's available on Amazon, in all the Amazon markets, everywhere.
Brilliant. Okay, well,
Amazing,
that's great that you've got such a lovely book. However, I would just like to say you would be a terrible host on this. But if you get straight to the point on things, you would be a terrible host on this podcast because we can string waffle. It should just be mind waffle, shouldn't it? Really,
it should. Yeah. It's not so much of a cake as just lots of waffle.
Lots of waffle. But no. So, and have you got a website, Karese?
I do. It's the Myospot, TheMyospot.com. And there I offer free consultations. I see people internationally and, I do telehealth. So I'm happy to chat with anybody at no charge to find out whether or not myofunctional therapy is the right step for you, or if there's another route you should seek.
Apart from Paul, who doesn't need an appointment.
Yeah, Paul.
Paul, don't bother.
Thank you. Well, this was kind of like my free consultation, so
It was.
yeah.
It was,
all
and
good.
you're fine.
Bye.
Whereas I need to sleep on my side and stick my tongue in the roof of my mouth and don't clench my teeth. And I need to stay awake to watch Aaron.
Yes.
And you need to try the mouth tape.
That's quite a lot of homework.
There's a lot.
Mm.
There's a lot. I would try the mouth tape, but I'm growing this beautiful moustache, so I don't really want to put tape on it.
Plus, you don't need to.
I don't need to anyway.
Don't need to use a mouth tape. But that would be a bit creepy, wouldn't it? If the follow up, because what we do is we do an episode with the guest where we try not to waffle at the beginning and the end, so that people, if they just want to hear that bit, then they can hear that bit, and then if we do a separate episode where we kind of dissect that episode, and that would be a really creepy thing to do, wouldn't it? If the follow up to this in the Mind Bites, that I came round your house and just sat by your bed just to see whether you had any sleep apnea, or whether, and like to make a log of if he turns over. Hello, it's 20 past 10. Paul has turned onto his back.
Yeah, if only there was, a device like a camera or something that we could use instead of you creeping into my house in the middle of the night.
Why use a camera when I can sit with a notepad and pen next to your bed and observe?
I'll give you a lot of good reasons why.
I'm sure
One,
Gail
it's
would
weird. 2, it's creepy.
Right, let's get back on track. Paul, do you have any more questions for Karese before we let her go?
I do have one question. It was one that you kind of asked earlier, but then went off on a tangent. It's
Okay.
how are your kids these days? I don't know how old they are now, obviously, but you were talking about the journeys that they were having when they were younger. How are they doing now?
Thank you for asking. Okay, so my son, actually, from right around when he was 10 or 11, things were starting to look down educational, his schoolwork, it wasn't looking good. And that was because of those focus and inattentiveness episodes. But once we got through, for him, we did myofunctional therapy as his primary and only thing. And once we got past his sleep issues, so that took about 9 months roughly, he was spectacular. So he went from a struggling child who could not pay attention to, at 17, he graduated high school a year prior to all of his peers. So he was just this brilliant boy, just, burdened by a lack of sleep. And so he's doing wonderfully. He's 20 years old now. My oldest daughter with all the sleep issues, thankfully, no more sleep issues. We haven't had sleep issues in the home for, I don't know, she's 18 now. So since she was roughly about 10 herself, so it's been 8 years. So very grateful for that. And my youngest too, we haven't had any antibiotics in the home. Went through the whole COVID thing too. Like we haven't had any antibiotics for any reason for the last 5 years. So I am incredibly grateful for everybody's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, success story. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That was lovely.
That's the perfect way to finish off, I think, isn't it? I was going to say, Karese, thank you for giving up your evening, but of course, what time is it with you?
No, it's not that late for me. What time is it now? Nearly 4. It's 3:45.
4:45, yeah. It's nearly mine and Paul's bedtime. It's 8:45 at night. And you will sleep perfectly. I, however, will, yes, need a bit of a jolt in the right direction. But I'm now going to be, it's one of those things where once you know, and I'm now going to be conscious of where my tongue is in my mouth and do my own.
Be a good thing. Just don't overthink it. I don't want it to
that's
be
my middle name, overthinking. You see, that's the problem. I'm going to be in the middle of the night doing my gagas. Oof, dear. But thank you so much for giving up your time. That's been a real pleasure to speak to you. I will keep up with my exercises and see whether that improves things.
I'll make sure he does, Karese, as well.
He will. He will.
Thank you, Paul.
And that was Karese from the Myo Spot.
That was, folks, season 4, episode 2. We've had a bit of a revamp.
What did you take from that, Lee Crompton?
I took that breathing is something you're very good at. Me not so much.
Yeah, I have the perfect tongue to teeth kind of positioning. I
Mm.
sleep on my right, well, my left side, which is the right side, whereas you seem to have the breathing and sleeping habits of
Of a
him or something.
Neanderthal man.
Although I think a Neanderthal would probably sleep better than you.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I tend to, and this isn't really a recent thing, I think, since I've reached middle age,
Mm.
but I tend to go to sleep, to fall asleep on my front.
Hmm.
I don't think I ever used to do that. And I have to say that after our night out, again, it's something that hasn't happened for a while. My good lady wife informs me there was quite a lot of snoring.
Yes. Now I don't. I mean, maybe I was snoring on Friday night, but Gail never mentioned it. But like I said in
Was she
the
not off her face as well, though? She'd been out.
no, she was having a night in.
Oh, was she? Okay.
In the chat with Karese, that was something I did say that I tend not I'm not a big snorer, but when I do snore, it's because of the alcohol.
The innocent gun infusion.
That's right, yeah. Keeps you purring like a leopard.
Bit a big, drunk, hairy leopard.
But there was lots of interesting stuff, just like hearing about her kids, like from her own personal journey, the sort of the journey that her youngins went on from what they were like before they started these kind of techniques and that kind of stuff. I thought that was really interesting, and you can see like it's a big, obviously a very big, passionate, personal thing for her to get
Absolutely.
involved in. Yeah, so it was a really nice chat that we had with Karese. Thank you, Karese, if you're listening.
Thank you, Karese. I'm going to get Aaron to listen to the episode.
Yeah,
That's why we're a little bit later recording tonight.
yeah. So when we were out on Friday,
Mm,
you happened to mention that Erin had been sleeping a lot better. The last was it 3 out of the 4 days last
hmm
week, she was
hmm
like out for the count, 8 o'clock, bosh, job done.
Yeah.
And then tonight it's just been
When Dad, what
shit
because Daddy
show.
had to come downstairs and do a podcast.
Yeah.
So normal service has been resumed, but no, we've tried the placebo effect in that we've got these vitamin gummies.
So you're not playing placebo in the background to try and coax
No,
her to
we
sleep.
could maybe try that though.
Yeah.
It's probably as good as anything.
Just another Nancy boy.
For those of you under the age of 45, Placebo were a popular band in the mid to late 90s.
And for those of you over 45 who didn't recognize that song, it was Nancy Boy. However, it didn't sound anything like Nancy Boy by Placebo.
Anyway, so you've tried the placebo effect,
Yes, of
dressing up like Brian Molko.
is he the lead singer of Placebo? Right. Yeah, tried that.
Confused her
Works
because she didn't know who he was.
just works a treat. Who's this strange man in my bedroom and she just falls asleep through pure terror?
She's so scared she has to go to sleep.
She just gets to sleep just to stop the living nightmare that is me dressed up as the lead singer of Placebo. There's a sitcom there somewhere, isn't there? Anywho, no, what we actually do is we have used vitamin gummies for children,
Ooh.
and I have given them those to the kids just before bedtime under the guise that they help switch her brain off. And that seemed to work for the first couple of nights. And then, yeah, she just wants the sweets. Well, it's not a sweet, it's a vitamin
Mm-hmm.
gummy. Yes, that didn't really work.
So now she just kicks
Uh,
off until she gets her vitamin fix.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit hit and miss. I mean, she's 5 now, and you think, how many more years have we got just fucking about every night? I also feel bad. The other thing that could occur to me that if the world hasn't blown up in 10, 20 years' time, and heaven forbid they find the old archives of their old dad doing this podcast years and years ago, Aaron, if you're listening to that, you're not a pain in the ass. You're just sometimes challenging, darling.
Mm-hmm.
Still love you.
So yeah, well, I've got the opposite effect because Daisy's 15 and a half now. So
Does she
can't
listen to the podcast? Going by the demographic results, no.
probably not because,
Mm.
she's got better things to do with her young life,
Hmm.
like hang around with her friends.
Yeah, that's the advantage of not having any.
Yeah, yeah, quite.
You can listen to more podcasts.
Yeah, so we have the opposite problem with Daisy in that when she goes to bed, we can't wake her up in the morning because she's a teenager.
Oh no, we have that issue. Erin, you can't get Erin up in the morning because she's knackered.
Ah, see.
Sort of at both ends. So she won't go to sleep because her brain won't switch off, and then she just won't wake up in the morning because she's knackered.
Well,
Still love you.
I think we need to try, well, I say we, the royal we, need to try these Mayo spot techniques, perhaps. The nga exercises. Nga.
Nga.
She'd love that, Erin. Pulling
Do you
silly
think?
faces and that.
Or just stick some mouth tape over her. I'm going to try that.
Try it. Report back.
If for nothing else about the social media as well, I'm going to post a picture of me with one of the kids' eye masks on. I think one of them is like a panda with mouth tape, with something like, "Dear algorithm, please don't make this the picture that goes viral of me wearing an eye mask and a thing over my mouth." So yeah, it's hit and miss. It's better than it was, kind of.
Lee Crompton's anecdote corner. Lee Crompton's anecdote corner.
I think I said to you, I may have said to you on Friday, I can't remember, that I do like listening back to the episodes, because when I'm in the episode and I'm thinking of questions and going off at tangents and thinking about the next question, how I'm going to respond to whatever they've just said, I don't necessarily take in what they're saying at the time. It's only when I listen back to it, it's almost like listening back to it as a listener, like for the first time, because you go, "Oh yeah, I don't remember us talking about that," because my brain is trying to.
Yeah,
it's like having my own producer in my ear is my own brain, my internal monologue. Remember to ask him about the so and so. Oh yeah, no, I must do that. Sorry, what did you say?
Lee Crompton's anecdote corner. Lee Crompton's anecdote corner. You'll have just heard Lee Crompton's anecdote corner there. It's been a while, hasn't it?
You're welcome.
So one of the things we did talk about on Friday is that we're going to keep the waffle because, we like the waffle, but we're going to try and structure it a bit more. So each waffle section at the end of our interviews is going to have the 4 corners which uphold the structure of Mind Cake.
Right, I can only remember 2 of them.
Lee Crompton's anecdote corner.
Ovs.
Paul Beeson's housekeeping corner.
Obviously, we can't do without that.
Oh, yeah.
What were the other 2?
Ian McNabb's email corner.
Are we still calling it Ian McNabb's email
corner?
No,
We'll call it the email corner because it's not just Ian McNabb who emails us.
Well, you say that. I was going to say we haven't heard from Ian McNabb for ages. The reason we haven't heard from Ian McNabb for ages is because he sent us a Christmas email, and I only checked because we never have any emails. I only got around to checking the emails last week and saw that he wishes us both a Merry Christmas, along with Alan in Australia.
Which that brings us on to the next thing. We don't really know what the 4th corner of Mind Cake should be.
Oh, did we not have a 4th corner?
No, we didn't. We got as far as the 3, and then we went. I don't know what the 4th one's going to be.
Can we not just make it a Mind Cake triangle?
We could.
Could be the corner of a triangle. It doesn't have to be a right angle.
Okay.
Yeah. What else that we didn't remember, or I later remembered, was that we were talking to the waitress in a cocktail bar at an Innocent Gun.
It's Brian Molko again.
Yes. And we were talking about Mind Cake, obviously. We showed her one of the business cards.
That's right.
And she said, "Oh, she's interested in mental health," she said. And she went to scan the QR code. The QR code doesn't work.
It doesn't, unfortunately.
No. So this free QR code generator had generated it, and you must have it. It must, because it did work when I first used it, and it must keep it active for like a fortnight. Little did I know, you then have to pay, and it's like £16 a month or something.
It was stupid, whatever it was, yeah.
To keep the QR code up to date. So needless to say, I've got the business cards now that don't have a QR code, and I thought, so they're redundant because we've now got we've got the business cards that have got the QR code, other than the QR code doesn't work. And then it occurred to me in the middle of the night as I woke up in my drunken stupor, oh, hang on a minute. There's a limited edition number of mugs that also have the QR code on them.
Limited edition? Special edition.
Special edition with the QR code that doesn't work.
They're so limited that they're redundant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I presume that you could still use them as a mug. Like its primary function is still working. It's just the
Oh yeah, no,
QR
they don't
code.
leak. They don't leak through the faulty
It's
QR
like
code.
now the QR code's not working. The mugs don't work. You
No, they're
just like
still
spill tea down your face.
the mugs don't work. Was that a song by
That was the Verve, wasn't it?
the Verve? Yeah,
The mugs don't work. They just make you
just
worse.
make you worse. Yeah, but I know I'll see your face again.
All scalded and red from the hot.
Anything else from our night out that we need to report?
No, well, do you know what was nice was to actually see you physically in person, because we spend most of our time chatting either via WhatsApp or through Zoom when we're recording episodes. So it was nice to actually be in your company, because I think since we started the podcast, we've only seen each other 3 times or something, 4 times.
I think
maybe?
so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. And I think it highlighted for me anyway was the importance of having these little chats. It's all very well doing the podcast and, you know, having the guests on and they get to talk about all aspects of mental health and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually important for us to just kind of check in with each other. I think it was nice to do it in person.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, and I said to Gemma the next day, I said it was actually very nice, other than the hangover on the Saturday morning. It was very nice just to hang out like a couple of chums, and just because I don't know how often I do that really. I just go out, have a couple of pints. I was going to say let my hair down. It wasn't much more than 2, was it?
Yeah.
I wasn't that drunk because I remember
the next day.
Exactly how many I had. I know how many I had. The same amount as you.
Well, actually, I had one more because.
Oh, did you have one before I arrived?
Well, I did in Edinburgh because I had 20 minutes to wait for my connection. So I went to the Brewdog and I smashed a pint of Punk IPA in 15 minutes and then jumped on the connecting Glasgow train. Good. So I had that little one extra.
But yes, yeah, we should do it more often because it was actually just nice just to, I was going to say let my hair down, but just chew the fat and just have a laugh. I mean, just lots of belly laughs and it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's all right. No, thank you.
No, thank you. We should take notes next time.
Yeah.
We could maybe, if you would like to apply for the position of minute taker for the next Mind Cake pub, then please do get in contact. Details will be available later in the Paul Beeson's housekeeping, how to get in touch with the show if you would like to apply for the position of minute taker.
Now, speaking of sections,
emails.
Our chum Alan from Down Under. Hello, pal. Hope you're well.
Hi, Alan. Sorry about the delay.
Yeah,
there's a satellite delay on your emails.
So we got a lovely picture here of a beautiful beach. And it's a gorgeous day. And it says, "Hi, Paul and Lee. Merry Christmas from sunny Sydney. I've just listened to your Christmas episode. Very good. Smiley face."
He's one of the few that listen to that. It's probably one of it took me forever to edit that.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I think it's really good. However, no one was listening because they were too busy enjoying themselves with their family rather than listening to us two. Anyway.
Rude.
Alan, continue.
Yes. 8 minutes from the end, my phone overheated, so I was on tenterhooks for the end of the episode. I've loved listening to... sorry, he's just rubbing it in there because it was so hot in Australia over Christmas. His phone overheated. I've loved listening this year and look forward to what 2025 brings. Hope you had a lovely Christmas break. Alan, we did have a lovely Christmas break, mate. Thank you so much for your email. The picture looks amazing. Maybe we could put that picture up on our socials. Ian McNabb. Good old Ian. Hello,
Hooray!
Ian. So we've actually got 2 emails from Ian. 3. Oh God, it's a long one. Right. The following email was heavily redacted due to spicy content. Things are good. I've stopped searching for that elusive magic bullet for inner contentment and just getting on with things, but I do credit Mindcake and Dr. Jan for one of the most important lessons that I've taken on board, which is surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
I do a lot of walking now, along with mornings at the gym. And whilst I had done the odd yoga class, this is now a weekly routine. I actually don't have that much free time, as there is always those 5-minute jobs that take 2 hours. But the main thing is putting myself first instead of last. Anyway, I've rambled on and hope all is well. Both of you, and I trust that all your various projects will bear fruit, fame, and fortune. Cheers, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. And that was some of the stuff that actually stayed in. A lot of that you're going to have to cut out.
I know. So there we go. So that's just a little taster of
little
some
teaser there. First email corner of 2025. Boom!
What a belter it was. That was the email corner.
Emails. Maybe we should have a social media corner. I'm good, thanks. Just arrived in France on a skiing holiday with my family.
Oh, is that Amy Alexander?
Amy Alexander, yeah, co-host of the show.
Hi, Amy. Hope you enjoy your skiing holiday in France.
Yeah. Also, we need to say hello to what's his name again? John Hannah. That's him.
Not that John Hannah.
Our John Hannah, not the other
John Hannah.
He sometimes gets a bit of a bee in his bonnet that we mention people, but never him. But then I need to mention Callum, who also listens on a regular basis, who sits opposite John, because I don't want him to feel left out.
I should say hi to my bestie, cousin Carrie.
Oh, you absolute scum.
Joe, it's hilarious on Friday night. Lee took the hump. He was like, "Oh, I'm scrolling down my social media, and all I see is that you've liked all of cousin Carrie's posts." And then what did I do, Lee? I scrolled down, and I'd like 2 posts.
Well, but there you are. See, that's the algorithm right there. So I'm seeing cousin Carrie's posts because you've already liked them. So all the posts from cousin Carrie I'm seeing is because you already liked them, and me and you are kind of connected. So that's how it works, people. If you like our posts and comment on our posts, other people will see them. So please, could you do that? Thanking you in advance.
Yes. Now, is it time for a bit of housekeeping?
No.
It's happening. I'm editing this one, so it's definitely
No,
happening.
it is happening, but not yet.
All right, okay.
When the day that this episode goes out, I want the socials to go mad to get Paul Beeson to do the World Cancer Day cold water dip.
Oh yeah, if we get 100 likes on that post, I'll do it.
Right. Yeah, don't edit that out either.
No, I'm not going to edit it out.
Right.
Paul Beeson's housekeeping. Oh, how very lovely.
Apologies for the poor sound quality, everybody. I'm doing this housekeeping on the hoof today. So you can find us on Instagram at Mindcake Podcast. We're ditching Twitter for fairly obvious reasons. And you can email us at sliceofmindcake@gmail.com and find us on Facebook if you search for Mindcake. I've also started my own little personal Instagram Mindcakey profile. So you can find that at Paul Beeson Mindcake Pod. So please do like our social stuff, and if you're new here, please do subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you can leave us a little review, it helps other people discover it too. So thank you so much.
Paul Beeson's housekeeping. Oh, how very lovely.
Okay. Be kind to yourself
And each other.
and get yourself some cake.
Cake.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Been great. Love you.
Right, love you too.
Let's start a podcast about our